Hello and welcome to Off My Shelves, and this is a look at Absolute Authority Volume 1 by Warren Ellis and Bryan Hitch, and yeah, we will get underway. So for those who didn't watch my Absolute Celebration video, which I'll leave a link of in the description below, Absolute Authority was actually the first proper Absolute release really back 20 or so years ago in 2002. But this is a reprinted version, so it looks nothing like the original version. It's a different cover, and for some reason they've done the same cover on the front as on the back. No idea why they've done that, but either way we'll look at the build of the book first. As ever, the Absolutes come in a slipcase, and like I say, the slipcase in this one is a little questionable. I mean, I don't know why they did the same artwork on the front as the back. It's nice, and it's a nice finish, but I'm not sure why the doubling up happened. The book itself has got a nice wraparound image from the interior of the book, which is great. It's got a hardback cover, sewn binding, really good binding, ribbon bookmark, everything like that. I love the end page as well, which is another recoloured page from the book. Glossy paper throughout, and yeah, a great book in general, I think. And this is a key example of why Absolutes are great, because Bryan Hitch's artwork is very cinematic and large in scale and scope, and so if you've got a small version of this, it's not going to be as good as a bigger. It really isn't, because his artwork is big and bombastic and large and cinematic, and so when you get a bigger version of it, you are going to see those details that he's hidden throughout, really. I mean, the amount of detail that he puts into some of the cityscapes and some of the imagery in here is insane, I think. Now, there is a volume 2 to this, which we'll do in a separate video because the creative team changes up a bit, and I've got a few different thoughts about that book than this, but either way that'll come as a separate video soon enough. So there is a background to a lot of these characters, but you don't necessarily need to read it. There was a series called Stormwatch and a few other things that give some origin story to a few of these characters and things like that, but you can really go in just absolutely cold and just read it like this. I have, and I've got no issues whatsoever. But it's following a team of superhuman individuals, but it starts off with Moscow being absolutely decimated by a terrorist organization, and this terrorist organization has created superhuman armies to do their bidding, really. And his main goal is essentially to etch the earth with this logo of his family, this circle with 3 main points symbolizing 3 brothers of this family, and so he's destroying 3 main centers of the world, Moscow being the start. And this wakes up a team that has been slowly forming, led by Jenny Sparks, who is one of the coolest superhero characters ever created in the medium, to be fair. She is awesome, but we'll get to her in a second. Instantly you're thrown into this world where you've got very high conceptual science fiction and superhero elements coming in, and you don't know quite who is who or what is what, but it does certainly bring you in and peel away those things very slowly, but it doesn't spoon feed it to you either. It does leave a lot for you to just make your own assumptions about, really. And so, for example, there's one character, Jack Hawksmoor I believe his name is, who can read and be part of cities and things like that, as well as doing a few other things, and you're not really explained as to why he's got those powers, who he is, and you get very little as to how large the scope of his powers were, which is great as the book goes, I think, because you know so little. It's not like Superman, you instantly think, oh yeah, he can fly, he can shoot these out of his eyes, he can do that, he can do this, he can do that. You know what to expect, but with all of these characters, you kind of don't. And so when they continue to expand and do amazing things with their superpowers, you are instantly like, wow, I can't believe they can do that, what else can they do? And so I think the characters' powers themselves are good because they kept a bit more mysterious. There's a whole cast of characters anyway, which I'll go through very briefly. You've got the engineer, who is a woman who's taken on liquid metal and can turn herself into this robotic form. Then you've got Apollo, who is very much a Superman character. You've got the Doctor, who is very much similar to Doctor Strange and that type of thing. You've got Jack Hawksmoor. You've got Swift, who they term as the Winged Huntress. And then you've got the Midnighter, who is very similar to Batman in a way, but he's got super enhancements, which you'll find out as you go along really. He's similar in look and approach to Batman, but very different in the doing. And then obviously you've got Jenny Sparks, who controls electricity and is 100 years old or so. She was born at the turn of the century and is very much the child of the 20th century. They've all come together to create this super powered force called the Authority. Very similar to, most of your super teams, but these are great because they don't really, ask for permission or do anything like that. They just get the job done. When these big things are happening, they go in and get it done and tell other people how they are going to get it done. They don't bow down to, politicians or presidents and all that. And they are really confident in their skills and what they can achieve. Yeah, they do have doubts and do have moments where they're not sure what they can do or they can't do, if they can actually attack these big incoming forces. But I think the confidence of the characters really shines through amazingly here, because they're all fully formed as soon as you start the book. It's great that you don't have to suffer through the origin stories of this person, of that story. You don't get a background of this person. You just go straight in with the action. Moscow's being attacked, LA's being attacked next, London's being attacked. Let's get in there and get this team in there and get the stuff done, get the job done. And that's what I love most about this book, is it doesn't waste any time on masses and masses of exposition. It just gets this superhero over the top action in, gets the villain done, and then moves on to the next challenge, which is great. And so the opening challenges for the team face against this terrorist organisation, they normally come in 4-part story arcs, and so the first 4-part story arc deals with that story, and then the second looks heavily at the ship they're on, because they have taken control of this living ship called the Carrier, which can travel between the breach or the barrier, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's travelling through subspace, dimensional space. So it's around Earth, but you can't see it because it's travelling through different dimensions, and so you get lots of imaginative backdrops where the Carrier is going through. And the imagination on Warren Ellis in this book is off the chart. He is one of these writers that I think has such strength in their convictions when they write in. It comes across, you get such bizarre conceptual ideas just presented to you as matter of fact in you, that they don't really stand out too much. They become part of this really complex world, but don't, but you don't spend ages figuring out what the hell is that, how does that work. You just kind of take it as that world building. And I think the confidence in the characters and in the storytelling and in the art screams out of this book. It is one of the most confident superhero stories that you will read, to be fair. And so the next story arc deals with an incoming army and a force coming from another dimension, shifting Albion, this alternative Britain, an alternative world. And I should say that this is full of violence as well. It's full of really over-the-top violence, people getting their heads punched off and all that type of thing. But the other thing is, it's great because it plays with your expectations of what a superhero team is. Take Jenny Sparks, for example. Her dress and her sense, she's not stylized in a way that a typical female superhero would be. She's stylized in her own way. She's got her own personality. She's not all boobs like many superheroes are. And it's the same for all the other characters. But certainly the sliding Albion story in this other dimension, attacking the Earth that we're on, that the Authority is on. And what they want to do to the Earth is one of those high concept ideas that are appallingly bad, because it's a threat that you really can't do anything about. It's this unyielding force that is going to do this to your Earth no matter what. And so the Authority step in and basically just do their thing and decimate everything left, right and centre, because they have to, or they feel they have to. And there's always that underlying question of the book is, who is keeping these people in check? What are they doing? Are they going too far, or are they not doing enough, or that type of thing? But the book doesn't dwell on that. It leaves you as a reader to kind of make your own assumptions, whether they do push it too far or don't go far enough, all that. It has a crossover with Planetary, and that is a story that appears in the Planetary Omnibus and the Planetary Absolute. So there is a slight bit of double dip in there, but it's a story that's worth double dipping. The characters as well really do grow on you massively. When they start off, they're all mysterious, like the engineer and like Jack Hawksmoor and like Jenny Sparks. They're all very mysterious, but they really grow on you. And by the time you get to the final-ish story arc in this book, where they're facing off against a literal god, the person who arguably in their storyline invented the world that they live on, you are really heavily invested in the characters, and there is no half measures in this book whatsoever. The battles that they have are gigantic in scope and scale. The people and the characters they are gigantic in scope and scale. The artwork by Bryan Hitch is cinematic and over the top. The storytelling is really high concept and over the top. And it's just a really solidly good superhero story. If you are looking for a superhero story, then don't just run to Batman and Superman. Give Authority a try, because I'm fairly certain that it is one of the most interesting and action-packed and layered story that are involved in a superhero team that you will read, because I will definitely reread this time and time again, and even just looking at the art is just really fun, to be honest. And it's one of those books that when you see a guy's fist going through another guy's head, sometimes it's done in a way that's distasteful, but in you, it's tasteful. But the Absolute does contain some extras at the back as well, sketches and scripts and things like that, the normal fare for extras in Absolutes and Omnibuses and collected editions. And you can get this in an Omnibus version or in 2 Absolutes. Now, my money would always go on the Absolute, but again, it's totally up to you on every level. But thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.